So I'm seeing an overwhelming number of videos where people refer to the word salvation as if it's synonymous with eternal security. But salvation is not eternal or forever. We're first to understand that this word translated salvation in all translations is better translated safeguarding. Watch my videos 027 and 151, where the foundation of what safeguarding is seen in the first three occurrences here in Luke chapter 1, and has raised up a horn of safeguarding for us in the dwelling of David. So the word horn here is a figure of a defensive symbol, a horn, a symbol of strength and courage, which is, of course, in association with safeguarding from the enemies. Verse 71, to give safeguarding out of our enemies and out of the hands of all those hating us. Safeguarding has most of its context according to the so-called second coming of Christ. Hebrews 1:6, when the Father leads the aforeborn into the dwellage, and then the angels here are being made into spirits as officiators in the figure of the flames of fire, also seen in 2 Thessalonians 1:7 and 8, where when we come down here to verse 13, we read, but to which of the angels has he talked at any time? Have seat as ones out of those at my right hand, till as it were I set your enemies as a footstool of your feet. So this is all according to the safeguarding, when the enemies will be put under the feet of the footstool, where right here is an occurrence of safeguarding, which is according to a law according allotment. So the angels are not being safeguarded, they're spirits. Angels are doing the safeguarding over those who are about to law accordingly allot safeguarding in the dwelling of David, which is all post-midnight context. Again, Luke chapter 1. He has raised up a horn of safeguarding for us in the dwelling of David, his boy, to give safeguarding out of our enemies. According to the future context, when Christ again returns, he sets up his officiation of angels who will do the safeguarding during these terms. So there's also safeguarding that comes prior to the finishing of Israel in the last days. In 1 Corinthians chapter 15, we see the context of the resurrection, and then each in his own order. Watch these videos right here. 66, 89, and 100. Because when we get down here to verse 25, here's the statement again. For it is binding for him to reign on his throne, Hebrews chapter 1, verse 8, until he set all the enemies under his feet. Where those who are not the angels, but law accordingly allotting safeguarding, have to finish their faith to come into the allotment during that time, where others will come in prior. Because some of us who finish our hallowing will be the angels described in Hebrews chapter 1, Hebrews chapter 12, verse 22. But you have come to Mount Zion and to the city of the living God, to the heavenly on Jerusalem. Heavenly on. Okay, which is the heavenly on gift, and to 10,000s of angels, to the all convocation, where these, in verse 23 here, are recorded in the heavens who enter the wedding feast at midnight, who are then the angels of Hebrews 1:14 here, being dispatched into the service to those who are about to law accordingly allot safeguarding post-midnight. So the angels as officiating spirits are not souls, where these have to fetch the finishing of their faith in the safeguarding of souls. 1 Peter 1:9, which the finishing of the faith is the finishing of the safeguarding also. We're not being saved and guarded forever and ever in eternity. Once the enemies are set under the feet, it's all finished. Everything's finished in the new heavens and earth. So if we come back to Hebrews 1:13, the angels being mentioned here are all who come into the wedding feasts as officiating spirits, angels. We're back here in verse 6. The first order of the making of the spirits into his angels is at eventide, Mark 13:35, where again, now all the angels included in verse 14 here concludes the heavenly allotment, gift, regency, who will seat on thrones to judge over the dwelling of David in the third watch time, to bring them into the completion of the allotment of the right hand, Matthew 25:34, before the cursed of Matthew 25:41 are cut off. So the angels as spirits here are not souls being safeguarded. They're doing the safeguarding. Angels are safeguardians or guardians with Christ, in the ability of Christ. Here in 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, the slackening from those who are being afflicted is into the safeguarding pre-midnight, in the unveiling of the Lord from heaven with the angels of his ability in a flame of fire, Hebrews 1:7. They're doing the safeguarding. Psalms chapter 91, verse 11. For he orders his commissioners, angels, for you to guard you in all your ways. So safeguarding is not forever. It's not something that's eternal. It's just temporary until we finish our faith. We finish our hallowing and then enter the regency of God. Here in Psalms 97:10, we read, you loving ones, Yahweh, hate evil. He is the one guarding the souls of his favorers. He overshadows them away from the hand of the wicked. So they're doing the safeguarding. In fact, what we just read in Psalms 97 is the context of Hebrews 1:9. You love righteousness and you hate unrighteousness. Where the staff of the straightness is the staff of his regency are the angels as officiating spirits, beginning at eventide and then concluding at midnight, where all of the officiating spirits now are the angels that Jesus mentions in other parables. Matthew 25:31, but when as it were the Son of the human comes in his glory with all of the angels, these are the guardians over, again, those who will allot the regency here, which is not the heavenly on regency. I've already talked about this in other videos as well, namely video 144. We have to learn how to truly correctly cut the word of truth. So the point being is that safeguarding is not eternal. It doesn't last forever. It's not forever and ever. It's temporary until we come into the finishing. Okay, so prior to coming into the finishing of our hallowing, we come into the surround of safeguarding. Video 161. And just as faith has a finishing, which we fetch in the safeguarding, the surround of safeguarding, well, safeguarding also has a finishing. We're not going to be safeguarded forever and ever and ever when the enemies are finally conquered. But let me finish by saying that the adjective aionios, translated Aeonian properly, does not define eternal salvation. Aeonian simply describes the conclusion of the present eon. Okay, so this verse is mistranslated in all translations, but we have to understand the concept of eons. If you want to become an expert on the concept of biblical eons and the adjective Aeonian, consider watching these videos in my playlist. 15 videos in here.